The shopkeeper looked at my offer, a smile playing on his lips, and named a price that was exactly double my entire budget for the day. So, how do you bridge a gap that wide without causing offense and still walk away with what you want? Hi everyone, I'm your host Sarah, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a travel story from one of the most famous markets in the world, and through it, we'll explore the gentle art of bargaining. Along the way, we'll learn some fantastic English together. I had always dreamed of visiting the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul. It's one of the oldest and largest covered markets in the world, with over 4,000 shops. The moment I stepped inside, my senses were completely flooded. The air was thick with the scent of spices and Turkish coffee, and the sound of thousands of people talking created a constant, energetic hum. It was beautiful, but I have to admit I felt a bit overwhelmed. By the way, overwhelmed means feeling like you have too many things to deal with or see. For example, when I started my new job, I felt overwhelmed with all the information. I was on a mission. I wanted to buy an authentic Turkish mosaic lamp, one of those with beautiful, intricate patterns. By intricate, I mean having many small parts or details arranged in a complex way. For example, the watch had an intricate design on its face. So, I started to look around. Look around is a common phrasal verb that means to explore a place or see what is there. For example, we have some time before the movie. Let's look around the shops. I spent about an hour just wandering, getting a feel for the prices and the different styles. I saw so many lamps, each one unique. After a while, I came across a small shop tucked away in a quieter corridor. And there it was, the perfect lamp. It had deep blue and warm orange glass pieces that created a stunning star pattern. Now, I knew that bargaining, or haggling, was a huge part of the shopping experience here. It's a cultural norm. A cultural norm is a standard or an expected behavior in a particular society or group. For example, taking off your shoes before entering a home is a cultural norm in Japan. I also knew there was a right way and a wrong way to do it. My first attempt, at a different shop earlier, did not go well. I was too direct, a bit hesitant, and I think I might have offended the shopkeeper. I walked away feeling embarrassed. This time, I was determined to do it differently. I knew that this time, I had to approach it not as a fight, but as a friendly conversation. I entered the shop and the owner, an older man with kind eyes, greeted me with a warm merhaba, which means hello in Turkish. I smiled back and said merhaba too. Instead of immediately asking about the price, I spent a few minutes just admiring the items in his shop. I pointed to the lamp and told him how beautiful his work was. I wanted to show genuine appreciation. The word genuine means real or sincere. For example, she gave me a genuine smile. This seemed to break the ice. To break the ice is a great idiom. It means to say or do something to make people feel more comfortable when they first meet. For example, he told a joke to break the ice at the party. The shopkeeper, whose name was Amit, seemed to appreciate my interest. He told me a little about how the lamps were made. We chatted for a few minutes, and then I finally asked, very politely, "How much for this beautiful lamp?" He named his price. As I mentioned, it was quite high, about double what I was hoping to pay. It was a bit steep. When we say a price is a bit steep, it's a polite, informal way to say it's expensive. For example, "I like that coat, but the price is a bit steep." Now, here's where the real process begins. A common mistake many tourists make is to immediately offer a very low price, like 50% of the asking price. This can be seen as disrespectful. A good rule of thumb is to start your offer at around 60% to 70% of the initial price, but to do it with a smile. A rule of thumb is a practical and approximate way of doing or measuring something. For example, as a rule of thumb, you should cook the chicken for 20 minutes per pound. So, I smiled and said, "It's absolutely beautiful, but that is a little outside my budget. Would you consider this much?" And I made my first offer. He chuckled, a friendly laugh, and made a counteroffer. It was still too high, but we were now in a negotiation. He was starting to drive a hard bargain. The expression, "drive a hard bargain," means to be a very skilled negotiator who tries to get the best deal possible. For example, my mother always drives a hard bargain at the local market. This is the point where many people either give up or get frustrated. But I remembered what I had observed earlier. The key was to stay friendly and persistent. Persistent means continuing to do something, even though it is difficult. For example, she was persistent and finally got the job she wanted. So I didn't give up. The phrasal verb give up means to stop trying to do something. For example, the puzzle was too difficult, so I had to give up. Amit then did something wonderful. He offered me a small glass of traditional apple tea. This is a classic sign of hospitality and a signal that the negotiation is going well. It turns the whole experience from a simple transaction into a social interaction. We sat on small stools in his shop, sipping our tea and talking about our home countries. After a few more minutes of pleasant conversation, we returned to the lamp. I explained that I was a traveler with a limited budget, but I truly loved the piece. He told me it was a high-quality, handmade item. We both had our positions. I knew I had to stand my ground on my maximum price, but politely. To stand your ground means to refuse to change your opinion or position, even when facing opposition. For example, even though his boss disagreed, he decided to stand his ground. Finally, I said, "I understand it's a very special piece. My very best price is X. I cannot go higher, but I would be so happy to take it home." I was prepared to walk away if he said no. Being willing to walk away is actually a key part of successful bargaining. It means to leave a situation that is not satisfactory. For example, the deal wasn't good for us, so we had to walk away. He looked at me, then at the lamp, and then he smiled and nodded. "Okay," he said. "For you, a good price." We had finally met halfway. The idiom "meet halfway" means to compromise or to agree on something that is partly what you want and partly what the other person wants. For example, I wanted to leave at 6 and she wanted to leave at 8, so we met halfway and left at 7. We didn't just agree on a number, we found a price that felt fair to both of us. It was a moment of mutual respect. Mutual respect is a shared feeling of understanding and admiration between two people. For example, a good partnership is based on mutual respect. In the end, I got the lamp for a reasonable price. When we say a price is reasonable, it means it's fair and not too expensive. For example, the hotel was nice and the price was very reasonable. I thanked him warmly, using the Turkish phrase, "Çok teşekkür ederim." He wrapped the lamp carefully for my travels. Leaving the shop, I felt a real sense of accomplishment. That's a feeling of pride because you have achieved something difficult. For example, Finishing the marathon gave him a great sense of accomplishment. The experience turned out to be one of my favorite memories from the trip. Turn out is a phrasal verb that means to happen in a particular way, often unexpectedly. For example, the weather was bad in the morning, but it turned out to be a sunny day. It taught me that bargaining isn't about winning or losing. When done with respect and a genuine smile, it's about human connection. It's a dance, a conversation, and a memorable story you get to take home along with your souvenir. The lamp sits in my living room today, and every time I look at it, I don't just see a beautiful object. I remember a kind shopkeeper, a cup of apple tea, and a wonderful lesson in communication. So, the real secret to bargaining politely isn't about being aggressive or tricky. It's about building a small, temporary friendship. It's about showing respect for the person and their craft, and about enjoying the process. It ends up being so much more than just shopping. The phrasal verb end up means to finally be in a particular place or situation, often unexpectedly. For example, we took a wrong turn and ended up in a different city. What I learned in the Grand Bazaar is that a little bit of kindness, a genuine smile, and a willingness to connect can open doors and conversations anywhere in the world. It's a truly powerful tool, not just for travel, but for life. That little lamp is more than just a light in my home. It's a reminder of a wonderful human interaction. If you enjoy exploring fascinating topics like real stories, science, and psychology, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our future episodes. We love discovering these ideas and sharing them with you, all while helping you master English. Thank you so much for listening.